I'm Catherine Ambrose. Do we have some first-time people today? Is this your first time? It looks like we have a lot of our regular attendees. Anybody bring a friend today? Okay. Oh, here comes the flag. Thank you. All right. Great, Dawn. Thank you. All right, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Hi. Thank you. Thank you, and thank you for your service. Okay. All right, good. We got that done. We'd love to do the Pledge of Allegiance. We have a lot of veterans in the room, and so let's thank our veterans for their service. And let's thank our sponsors. So we have some of the sponsors here today that help us fund this so we can do it. And please go around and thank them and see what educational information they have for you today. We'd really appreciate that. So we have Anitra come on up here for a second. What is the new name of the Healthcare Resort of Wichita?
Good morning. It's so great to see everyone's smiling faces today. My name is Anitra Huerta, and I'm with Azria Health Wichita. Azria is a new company to Wichita, but they purchased an existing property called the Healthcare Resort. If you see us from the highway at K96 and Ridge, it looks like a big fancy resort hotel. However, we are a senior rehab and skilled facility and nursing facility and assisted living. So we have wonderful apartments upstairs for those that are independent still, but need a little bit more hands-on and community activity. And then downstairs we had skilled rehab if you need to get strengthened up from an illness or an injury or maybe a knee replacement so you can run faster. We can make you stronger, get you back home and independent again. And then for those continuing on in their healthcare journey and need a little bit more hands-on, we have long-term care. So it's a very aesthetically beautiful property, very cozy. We've taken the coldness out and made it more home-like. So come and visit us. Come and see my table. I've got some freebies over here today, but I'd love to schedule a tour with you. Maybe it's not for you, but maybe you might know someone looking for that next step in living.
Okay, thank you. And since we just have a couple today, we'll let you speak to. This is our attorney, Felicia.
Nice to meet everyone this morning. My name is Felicia Acosta Steiner. I am an attorney that focuses on estate planning, probate work, getting assets from a loved one into the hands of their legacies, their children and beneficiaries if they did not have a will that passed those assets to them. I also specialize in guardianships and conservatorship. So when you're unable to take care of your health or your financial needs, someone can be appointed for you and I can help family members manage that. The news I want to share with you this morning is that we are moving. We actually purchased a building, and we were previously in Office Park Plaza on Douglas and Oliver. We have now purchased a building, and we will be moving to 8100 East 22nd Street. It is in the Tall Grass Executive area over behind, I think it's Dillon and behind Dillon's, it's on 21st and Rock Ridge, I think, is the address. So please come and visit us. We'd love for you to come see our new offices, speak with us, and if you want to do an estate planning, I would be happy to speak with any of you.
Okay, very good. How about that, having an attorney here today that you can actually go up and ask questions of? All right, living with purpose is our topic today. What do you think that means? Because I didn't write a synopsis, and you showed up anyway, so that's really awesome. Living with purpose, what does that make you think of? I'm having trouble with my PowerPoint. Having something to do, okay. Uh-oh. Dee, let's see if we can get Luke, maybe somebody to help me with that. Or maybe I'm supposed to use the clicker. But if somebody could help me so I don't have to think about it, that'd be great. So having something to do. What else do you think living with purpose? If we were going to write the synopsis, what would it be about? What are your thoughts on living with purpose? What? Oh, I couldn't hear. Having a goal. Okay, thank you. I think that's good. Anything in particular you're hoping to hear today? We hope you hear something that sparks your interest and that we get some questions for our panel. And also, if you have questions that you want to ask privately, you can just put it on the paper there. We'd like you to fill out the survey today on how you've enjoyed today's session and the year, and any suggestions you have for us for next year. Okay, so living with purpose. It's pretty interesting because in November, right after we had that seminar, I went to Hugoton, Kansas to do a segment for PBS Kansas for the Empowering Seniors show. And I met a 9-year-old lady by the name of Betty Jo Bangs. And she's 90 years old, and Betty Jo Bangs, B-A-N-G-S, she's a songwriter, and she's been a songwriter her entire life. And she's still writing songs. She stays up a lot of times all night long working on her songs. Her room is full of songs just written on all different kinds of pieces of paper. And she has 3 keyboards in her room and tape recorders. And she said, I still have hope. She still has hope that one of her songs is going to take off. So I just think that is amazing. Somebody that's dedicated to their life's purpose at 90 and still working on it. And she has young musicians come in from other states to go through her material in hopes that they'll take those and turn them into a hit. Something else I want to share too about Betty is that something really sad happened to her 50 years ago. One of her songs was stolen from her by another artist. Several other artists did her song, but one in particular had some pretty good success with it. And the Bob Hope Variety Show found out about the song, and they did a skit based on the song starring Barbara Eden and Lee Marvin. And she was so sad. I mean, it was a very proud thing, but also kind of sad that she didn't get acknowledged for it. And she said, Bob Hope said that it was #1 on his hit parade. And I went and watched the skit on YouTube, and I think I kind of remember watching it years ago. And Bob Hope actually says in the skit, yeah, that song's #1 on my hit parade. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's exactly what she said. So the name of the song is Daddy Was a Preacher and Mama Was a Go-Go Girl. And she told me the story about how she came up with it, and it just was a very cool experience. One thing I got personally, though, was that she was so sad in a way, telling the story, she almost cried. And I thought, oh boy, I really don't want to be 90 in a wheelchair and telling people a really sad thing that happened to me 50 years ago. And it's important that we change the stories that we tell ourselves. And I think we're going to hear about that from our experts today. So a couple of housekeeping notes. There's tickets on your tables. They're in packs of 10. You're welcome to take packs of 10. We have a lot available, or take individual. You don't need tickets to come to the seminar. They're more like bookmarks, but we hope you spread the word and help people find us. Next year, we're going to do this again, February through December, always the second Thursday, so the exact same schedule we had this year, February through December. And I wore something sparkly today because I won't see you for Christmas or New Year's, likely, and I just want to celebrate with you. We are so excited that we were able to do our full year, despite health concerns out there, that we were able to do every single seminar this year, and that we have a new year planned. So we'll see you in February. And some of the things that we plan to do next year, we are going to launch Downsizers Club, so we'll send you information on that. And we do plan to have a town hall with the Wichita Area Builders Association. I think it'll be really interesting, and we'll have PBS Kansas there to record what we learned that day. And we'll do another luxury bus tour. So there are several people in the room today that were on the last one, and we learned a lot from doing it, and we're looking forward to doing it again. We're going to do something a little different this time. We're going to have each of our speakers come up individually and present to you, and then we'll seat them for a Q&A. And our featured speaker is Charlie Moon. He's going to talk for about 20 minutes. He's an author, and I'm going to read his book this weekend. Charlie, come on up. Yes, I'll let you introduce yourself.
My name's Charlie Moon, and the reason I'm here is, and I always want to check and make sure that I'm talking to the right people. So raise your hands if you see too much drama in the world. And if you don't, this isn't for you, okay? It's not. So here's how I came prepared this morning to talk to you. I brought a large print clock so I can stay on track so I don't get off, okay? And I wrote my speech out this morning about 5 o'clock, okay? So we're going to end up at the right place at the right time. Deal? So I'm going to pass this green envelope around, and I would like for you just to keep it going, okay? Deal? Deal. So you told me that you see too much drama in the world. Fair enough? Let me tell you a little story. I was standing in the airport in St. Louis one night, and I was talking to the sales manager for a bank in Kansas City. They had 55 locations in Kansas City. They had just bought a new bank that had 178 employees that were getting ready to go from their old bank that was owned by a family to a new bank that every conversation that new bank had started with, for better shareholder value return, we should. So do you see anything going on there of going from working for mom and pop and everything's good and we take great care of our customers and we love them and we know them all by first name and they know all of us by first name, through this valley of despair over here to for better shareholder value return? And so what happens is those 178 people were getting ready to go through some transition. Now, banks understand change. They understand that when you turn that light switch off over there, the lights go out. That's change. That's something that happens to us externally. But when people go through transition, which is that valley of despair there in the middle, they get lost, they get confused. So if they're, let's see, I don't know, maybe you guys know somebody that's getting ready to downsize a home, or their kids got married and now they're getting divorced, or the grandkids aren't living up to your standards or the kids' standards. So all those things that happened to us that we hear in our head going on, that's called transition. And Bill Bridges wrote this book back in the 70s called Transition, When Life Changes. How many of you would raise your hand if I asked you, how many of you's life changed in the last year? Yeah, that lady, you're brave. You raised your hand first. Thank you. Because life did change during the pandemic, fair enough. But what happens when we start down that slope, when we're going through transition, is it gets really slick. And we slide down there in the bottom and we run into a situation a lot of times where we get stuck down there. And we get stuck. And we don't know what to do, but we know we can complain. Fair enough? I was sitting at breakfast this morning out at Bradley Fair with a guy, very successful. Very successful. If I had his money, I would burn my own. Okay? And he started a conversation with, well, the problem is, see, what happens when we get focused on the problem is, guess what? See, the way our brain works, the core of our brain is our dinosaur brain, and that helps us survive and live every day. And it protects us, and it just helps us survive. So our brain knows that if we're stuck and we stay stuck, we'll survive. That's what that part of our brain is for. So if we get focused on the problem, that's the hypothalamus that sits in your brain, that when you see something, you ever bought a car and then everybody had the same car as you? Or you buy a sweater and then she shows up with that same sweater, right? That's your hypothalamus, and that's what happens in your brain to help you remember things. So when we get stuck on something and we focus on that, guess what shows up? more problems. Fair enough? So if we focus on the problem, we're going to have more problems. Deal? Yeah, deal. So focusing on the problem, a problem will show up, and what happens then? It causes anxiety. And then that anxiety creates a reaction. And then that creates another problem. And then that creates more anxiety. And then that anxiety creates another reaction. And guess what? That creates another problem. Ruh-roh. So rather than focusing on the problem and being able to start every conversation with, well, the problem is, right? Let's focus on what we do want. I want you to try something this afternoon, okay? Just do this. When you're talking to one of your friends, ask them a question like, okay, my wife and I play this game. We have a son, Ben, and when we would go out to lunch after Mass, we're Catholic, we'd go out to lunch after Mass, and I'd say, where do you want to go? And she'd say, I don't care, where do you want to go? And then, I can't play, I know the answer. Pass that around, would you? So what? Pass it some more. Focus on the outcome. So now we do this deal that I pick one week, she picks the next week. What we want to do is go out to dinner. We don't want to have a conversation about when we had Mexican food the last time, right? So we stay focused on the outcome of what we want. But this afternoon, when you're talking to somebody, ask them a question like, hey, what do you want for Christmas? That's a popular topic right now. And they'll go, I don't know, but I don't want another sweater, right? So what they did was they went over and they focused on the problem. I don't want another sweater. The problem is, well, we can't do this. Well, if we do that, then we're going to, right? All this focusing on the problem. So what I want to encourage you to do is focus on the outcome. Figure out what it is you do want, not what you don't want. Most people can tell us what they don't want. They can't tell us what they do want. So focus on this outcome of what you want. I do this with businesses when I do consulting work. Where you want to be in 10 years? A lot of them can't tell me because they just show up every day and go to work. They forget to focus on what they want out of here. So focusing on the outcome. Who's got the green envelope? That lady back there with the nice hat on. You have the green envelope. Congratulations. So she's our voluntold. She got voluntold to do this exercise. So what we're going to do is you can either play with me or you can hand it off to somebody else that you want to call on, okay? They did? Well, don't open it and look at it because it's going to screw the deal up for everybody if you do that, okay? So you're going to play with me? Do you know anything about cards? Yeah, like a deck of cards. You know there's red cards and black cards, right? Would you pick the red ones or the black ones? The red ones. And in the red cards, there's hearts and diamonds, right? Would you pick diamonds or hearts? The hearts. Awesome. In those hearts, there's big cards. Let's go from 7 up. And there's little cards, 6 down. Would you pick the big hearts or the little cards? The big ones, that'll leave 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So, would you pick the even ones, 2, 4, and 6, or would you pick the odd ones, 3 and 5? The even. So that leaves us with 2 of hearts, 4 of hearts, and 6 of hearts, right? Would you pick the 2 and the 4, or would you pick the 6? You'd pick the 2 and the 4. So would you pick the 2 of hearts or the 4 of hearts? You would pick the 4 of hearts. She said she would pick the 4 of hearts, didn't she? Ma'am, you don't have on lace-up shoes, so this is going to work really well. She said 4 of hearts. Would you mind taking your shoe off and showing everybody what's in your shoe? Does she have her shoe off? Is there a 4 of hearts in there? There's not? Oh my God, you got to admit though, it'd be great if there was, right? 4 of hearts, is that what you said? 4 of hearts. Would you open that envelope? Would you open it again? Would you pull out that card that I stuck in there yesterday about 4:30 and open it up? And what does it say?
The 4 of hearts.
It says 4 of hearts. Oh my God, he's a genius. I'm not a genius. See, I was focused on the outcome. I had 52 opportunities to get her to the card I wanted her to get to. I said, I got to get her to the 4 of hearts, right? So do you guys want to know how to do that? Because ladies, this is how you can get your husbands to take you out to dinner anytime you want to go, okay? Seriously. So what I did was I gave her choices. And when she said, I want the black ones, I went, well, I got to get her to the red ones, so that leaves the red ones. And then when I said big or little, she said little, and I went, that's good, that's what I wanted her to pick. So I was up in St. Joe, Missouri doing training one time, and I left and came back to this bank, and this lady came up and she said, you know, everything you talked about works. And I was like, that's great, because trust me, bankers really don't want to know how to sell. And so I thought, that's great. I said, what worked? And she said, I haven't cooked in 6 months. See, what I told her the last time I was there was, what does your husband like to eat? And she told me, and where does he like to eat? And she said, he loves Outback. Okay. What does he hate? And she said, liver and onions. And I said, okay, so when you come home from work, just say, honey, I've got liver and onions thawed out, or we can go to Outback. It worked for her. So when you want to get something done, focus on the outcome. Because if you figure out what the outcome is that you want, you'll get there. See, the problem, what happens when people get stuck is they feel like they're a victim. And the victims are looking for 2 things. This is Stephen Cartman's work from 1967. A victim is looking for somebody to save them, or they're looking for somebody to blame for their lot in life. And so that victim goes, well, I'll go talk to my daughter and she'll figure this out and I don't have to. Or I'll put it off on the attorney to make that decision. And attorneys are there to help you make decisions. They're not there to make them for you. Fair enough? So, if you're looking for a rescuer or you're looking for somebody to blame, that's what you got to stop and say, am I being a victim here? So David Emerald was a guy who wrote a book, and he talks about the TED dynamic, the power of TED, which is the empowerment dynamic. And David was a good guy who was working for the worst boss he'd ever had. His marriage was falling apart because he had not, he found out he was not going to be able to have, they were not going to be able to have children. His dad was dying at an early age. And he said, I just felt like a victim. And he said, I got tired of it. And he said, you can pray if you want to, or you can meditate if you want to. But he said, I was sitting there one morning and I said, what can I do to stop feeling like a victim? Now, my brother Tony, that was a therapist for years, said, yeah, we used to use the Cartman drama triangle all the time. And when we were talking to people and we'd see that they're being victims, we'd say, well, don't do that. Well, that doesn't work. That doesn't give people ways to work to get through their situation. So David Emerald took this Cartman drama triangle that's upside down with the point down, and it's very unstable, and he flipped it over and he said, let's be creators. What's the opposite of a victim? Is to be a creator. Focus on the outcome of what we want, not what we don't want. And he said, from that, then I thought about having people, instead of them being my rescuer, have them be my coach. And then instead of having a persecutor, have a challenger. I saw something on Facebook the other day I thought was interesting. A lady I know is a therapist. And she posted in public on Facebook, my husband is not my adversary, he is my support mechanism. And I thought, well, yeah, right? It's unfortunate that she thought she needed to post that in public. But anyway, so if you can look at things as to be a creator, you may end up with a story to tell like 3 people I'm going to tell you about. The first one's my friend Chuck. My friend Chuck was a shortstop in baseball when we were in high school. He showed steers, so you know he was rich because he had steers. The rest of us had sheep, hogs, or small things. He had big things. And Chuck was a lineman for OG&E, Oklahoma Gas and Electric, and he cut a line that they told him was off, and it wasn't. And it burnt off this hand, and it burnt off this leg. And that was when he was 20 years old. That summer, Chuck died 4 times. So let's fast forward to last night, what he posted on Facebook. He's always posted these wonderful things on Facebook about how fortunate he is and how good life is. Because he knows what bad life is, so he knows what good life is when he sees it. And he's closing out his career as a safety guy for an electric cooperative out in Alabama, and they have 38 across the country, and he's all over, and he's on Good Morning America and all this stuff. He could have sucked his thumb and said, life is, like the great Stevie Nicks said, life, everything sucks, nothing else matters, right? He could have been that guy, but he decided he didn't want to be. He wanted to be focused on the outcome of what he wanted to do, which is help people in bad situations be better. Let me tell you about Bella. Bella was up in Omaha. She was 11 years old the first time I heard Bella speak. I was raising money for Angels Among Us, and what Angels Among Us does is they raise money to give money to parents of children that have cancer. Because they know the percentage of parents that get divorced. I mean, if you think about this victim triangle, parents are going, this is horrible, our kid has cancer. And then pretty soon the wife says something and the husband goes, well, you're the problem. And they're looking for somebody to blame. And they're looking for somebody to rescue them. And so they get divorced. They know Angels Among Us know the percentage of people that lose their houses and file bankruptcy. And little Bella was 11 years old. She was about this tall. She had no hair. And she walked up in front of, give me just a second. She walked up in front of 400 people and she said, you know, the doctors come in my hospital room every night. They wake me up about every 2 hours. And what the message was there was they wanted to make sure Bella was still alive. And she said, I was sleeping, and they wanted to make sure I was alive. And I told him, I said, hey, she said, I told this doctor, he said, I've got brain cancer. You don't need to worry about me. I've got brain cancer. It's all in my head. And she was 11. So I went back the next year to raise more money for him up in Omaha. And I was sitting next to Bella at dinner, and she had some hair. And she said, you know, I really don't care to have hair. She said, it's really not that important, and it's really kind of a nuisance because I have to get up 15 minutes earlier to fix it. And it tickles my ears. So see, Bella could have said, ugh, everything's horrible, and I'm going to die, and I've got cancer, and this is blah, 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 blah. And she said, no. So she got up and spoke, 11 years old, got up and spoke in front of about 400 people and connected them with the mission of the organization. So I've got one more story for you, my brother Bob. My brother Bob was 56 years old when he had his heart transplant. Wow. And before he had it, we were at my parents' house. My parents lived through the Depression, as all of yours did, fair enough. And so they'd saved everything. How many of you have 39 to-go styrofoam containers in your house? Yeah, my mom did when we moved from their big house to their smaller house. And so Bob came up with a great philosophy for me. We would be standing there and we'd pick up this thing and I'd say, what do you think we ought to do with this? And he'd say, it has served its purpose. And just remember that, you know, it served its purpose. Let's get rid of it. Let's give it to somebody else that can use it. Let's do something. It's served its purpose. I love that. Did you get something out of this? Yeah. So, Bob's 56. He has a heart transplant. He calls me a few days after the heart transplant. They have stuck a tube down his throat the size of a shop vac hose. Seriously, he could hardly talk because his voice, his larynx got jacked up, right? And he said, hey, and they live in a 5,500 square foot home. They'd been enormously successful. He was a real estate development guy and an architect. His wife was the editor and general manager and part owner of the second largest publishing company on the East Coast. It had been a good run. And he said, I'm going to build a studio onto our house. And the studio was about half the size of this room when he got it finished. And he said, I'm going to put all my stuff out there, because Bob liked to build mobiles, so I'll put all that stuff out there. He liked to do woodworking. I'll put all that stuff out there. I'll put my CDs, my books, my computers, just to have it all in one place. And I said, what are you going to do out there? And Bob, the creator, said, I don't know, but if I don't build it, I'll never know. And I thought that was a pretty good way of looking at things, because he could have said, well, I'm 56 and I've had a heart transplant and I probably can't do anything, and I'll just sit in the living room and suck my thumb and talk about how horrible life is. But that's really not what a creator does. They figure out what they want and they go get it. And I'd like to encourage you to do that. Is figure out what you want, head down that path. And there may be blips and mistakes and rocks and all that stuff, but just keep going towards what your North Star is and what makes sense. If I was a better speaker, I would have looked at that clock before I started speaking so I'd know if I had any time left or not, but I didn't. So I hope you got something out of this, just something you can take with you and enjoy your time, and have a good time, and enjoy your time. Deal? Thanks for sitting around. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Charlie. All right. We have another attorney in the room. And let's bring her on up. Let's see if I can figure out how to work this. Whoop. Paula Kidd Casey. She's got a story to tell. She's also an author. And she's an international podcaster. And I'll let her tell you the rest.
Thank you. I'm so thrilled to be here. I have a question. Who knows the number one regret that people have at the end of their lives? That's a good way to look at it. But I want to tell you what a nurse that was dealing with hospice care came up with. It was not having the courage to live the life true to yourself. That's the very biggest regret they ever had. So I was a divorce attorney for 40 years. And I was good, and I was mean, and I would win. And after about 25 years, I realized that that wasn't being true to myself. But in my 50s, right, I had a practice, I had a lot of expenses, I made a lot of money. I had no idea to figure out what was true to myself. And so I ignored it. I ignored that still small voice. I would push it down. I would cram it down with Oreos. I wouldn't pay any attention to it. So in 2005, I literally started having panic attacks, anxiety attacks. I thought they were heart attacks. And we were watching a football game, and I started having a heart attack. And I said to my husband, I think I'm having a heart attack. Can you take me to the hospital? And he said, can you wait until halftime? Now, he swears he didn't say that, but he did get me to the hospital. 6 months later, they tell me it's panic attacks, it's anxiety attacks. That did not sit well with me because I was a strong, obnoxious attorney, right? And I could control everything. But I realized I didn't want to live this way anymore. I realized that there was something bigger that was talking to me. I also realized I had no idea how I was supposed to find this thing out that was true to myself. I was a logically trained, left-brain, reasonable reality attorney, right? You give me a problem and I will beat it to death until I make people see it my way. So I went on a quest. I started trying to figure out, how do I find out what is true to myself, and once I find that out, how do I actually live it? And back then we didn't Google, right? We didn't really have Facebook. Still don't necessarily know how to do all of those things. So I would go to Barnes & Noble and I would walk around and I would say there was a Barnes & Noble angel, right? Because they would lead me to the books that I needed. I found this book called Infinite Possibilities. It's by Mike Dooley. It's a New York Times bestseller. Literally, I could tell you stories where books would literally fall off the shelves as I'm walking by, right? This is one that really hit me. Started paying attention to him, started following him. And once again, I knew there was something else. Now, this was like 5 years later, right? I'd been on this quest for 5 years. I'd read hundreds of stories. I'd read hundreds of books, gone to so many seminars. But I find this book, and I get on, and I start following him. He's going to start training trainers. He's going to start having workshops and train us how to teach people how to live the infinite possibilities in their lives. So I went to see him in November of 2011. I became one of his trainers. Mike and I are really good friends. I was literally his first trainer because you had to teach 6 people. And so when I got home, I invited 6 of my friends to come to my dining room. Literally, I had to bribe them with dinner because they had no idea what it was that I was trying to do. But I became one of his very first trainers. And as I'm doing that, I was telling my mother-in-law, so this would have been in January of 1988. And my mother-in-law, when did she die? 2012. She was 88. And this was in 2012. And I was showing her this book. Now, I loved my mother-in-law, but she was 88. She was cranky. She never thought she had enough money. She never wanted to do anything. She lived in lack and scarcity. And we loved her, but we wanted to love her from afar. And I gave her the book, and she read the book. And we started noticing. She started doing different things. She started participating, right? She got her teeth fixed. She bought a new car. She bought new furniture. She started volunteering places. And we loved being around her. And we ended up taking her to the Lion King when it came to Century 2. We took her, and probably the first time we'd actually gone out on like a date with her, my husband and I, for a long time. And as we're sitting there, she said, I just got to tell you, this book changed my life. She said, I realized the kind of energy that I was living in, we all are in autopilot 95% of our day, and we don't even know it. We have been conditioned, there's paradigms, there's habits, and it controls what we do 95% of our days because our subconscious mind controls what we do. We don't even realize it. And she said, once I understood some of the concepts in there, I started thinking, I'm going to live my life differently. She said, this last year of my life has been the happiest it's ever been. And she said, it was like somebody opened a door, like a veil came off. And we didn't really go into it a lot. She didn't really tell me the specifics on how she broke it down. But because I teach this, and because this is what I teach now, I retired from the law in 2018. I have my own book. It's on Amazon, The Lawyer and the Law of Attraction. I'm known as the Lawyer of Attraction. The Law of Attraction is a quantum physics science frequency, but it basically is whatever, just like Charlie was talking about, whatever you put out comes back, right? Whatever energy you put out. And so what she literally learned from this information, I'm going to break it down into 4 things. Number 1, she learned to live in the now. 95% of our days, we are living in the past or we are living in the future. We are upset about something that happened in the past. We're living with anger or regret, or we're mad or we're sad, or we think we're victims, or we're worried about the future. But when you live in the now, it's a magical moment because nothing bad ever happens in the now. We use our imagination to think about what happened in the past and worry about what will happen in the future. And if you take a big, deep breath and realize right now is the only time that we ever really have. It is the only time you can make a decision. It is the only time you can feel a feeling. It's the only time you can hug your grandchildren. It's the only time you can take an action. Now is the only time we do, but we waste our nows by worrying. So once you realize that you can be in your now, in your present moment, it's magical. That's when you're attached to source. That's your higher self. That's your intuition. You can start asking yourself, what is it I came here to do, right? I don't want to live a life not true to myself. That is the only time you can ask yourself, and that is the only time that you can answer yourself. Because that is the only time when you're living in the now, right, that we're actually out of this self-imposed area where we're literally worried about everything. Once you're in the now, choose gratitude. Gratitude is the highest frequency you can be on. And I mean that on a scientific level. They can actually measure the different emotions we feel. Energy has the highest vibration, and you get so much more in your body when you're in gratitude. You cannot be in gratitude and fear at the same time. You cannot be in gratitude and another emotion at the same time. So when you realize you want to stay in the now, and the way you do that is you take a big deep breath, and all you're doing is paying attention to everything that's around you. And you choose gratitude. I'm grateful that somebody put those beautiful wreaths together, right? I'm grateful that there's air to breathe. There are so many things to be grateful for. You cannot be in two emotions at the same time. You can't be in fear. You can't be in lack and scarcity. You can't be in anger. If you're in gratitude, that is where the magic happens. So stay in the present moment. Choose gratitude. When you choose gratitude, you find more things to be grateful about. That is a scientific fact. Whatever level of vibration you're in that you put out, you get it back, right? If you're in the problem, you're going to get more of the problem. If you're in the solution or if you're in gratitude, you get more things to be grateful about. The more things you have to be grateful about, the more that you realize you have. You get out of the lack and scarcity. You realize that there's so much there, and you want to be generous. So you start being generous, you start giving. You know, giving and receiving is the same exact gesture, right? When you give someone, you've got your palms out. When you're receiving, you have your palms out. It's the same exact gesture. You will get more when you give more. Then the last thing is, once you realize that you have control over the fact that you can feel gratitude, you have control over your attitude, over how you're going to look at everything in your day. And when you change your attitude, it becomes miraculous. Everything around you changes. When you react differently, the universe reacts differently back to you. When you understand you have control over your attitude because you have control over your present moment, you get to choose what it is you feel and do. You get to choose how you interact with people. They start interacting with you differently. And it just spirals up. It becomes literally magical. And then the fourth thing I think she really realized was, once you understand this power that we have, because we have power over what we think, over the energy that we put out, over the energy that we get back, we have power over how we live our lives. We have power over what we decide our purpose is. And it doesn't matter. I was in my 50s when I decided I didn't want to practice law anymore. I was 65 when I retired from the law and started this whole new profession. I had no idea how to do it. If I told you the coincidences and serendipities that led me here, you wouldn't believe it. Out of the blue, things happened I could not have controlled or planned. But I stayed in the present moment. I stayed with gratitude. I identified what it is that I wanted to do with my life. And I took baby steps. I stayed in the now, and I stayed in gratitude. And then finally, when you get to that and you realize how much power you have, and you realize how precious you are to the universe and to God, you realize you're a spiritual being having a human experience. We're not human beings every now and then having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings, and we came down here to play, and we're not going to be here all that long, but when we leave, we're still spiritual beings. And there is a freedom and there is a joy when you understand your connection with your purpose, which is another word for your higher self and your spirit, which is just another word for source. And all of those things start when you understand you have to stay in the present moment. And one of the ways I tell people to do that is I have these I am grateful stickers, and I have a bunch back there if anybody would like to go back and get those. I tell people, fill out 5 of these every morning, and they need to be different. Every morning they need to be different. You end up getting to the point you are thankful for the asphalt because you're running out of other things to be thankful for, right? You know, you're thankful for everything. And then I put them all over the house. I put them on my mirror. I put them, If you're writing in the car or on my computer, I put them on the back of my phone. And every time you see one of these little notes, you're going to remind yourself to stay in the present moment. You're going to see it. You're going to look at what you're grateful for. You're going to take a big, deep breath. And you're going to say to yourself, I'm so happy I'm here. I'm so grateful to stay here. You're going to let the past go away. You're not going to worry about the future. And you're going to say, what is it I want to do right this moment? And when you do, I promise you, your true future shows up, your true purpose. So you live true to yourself. You have to have the courage to take that one step. And then another one shows up. Martin Luther King says, you don't have to see the whole staircase. You just have to see that first step. You see the first step, you take the step. And it doesn't matter. My mother-in-law died a week after we had that conversation. She was extremely healthy. She had a procedure, and she died within a week if we had that conversation. But she told me it was the happiest year of her life. It doesn't matter how old we are. That's just a number. It doesn't matter our circumstances. That's just geography. It matters that you understand how precious you are. You're a spiritual being, and your magic happens when you learn to stay in the present moment, in gratitude, connected to Source, paying attention to your true purpose, and taking that baby step. So, my name is Paula Kidd Casey. I've got my cards back there. I've got a lot of these. Anybody that would like that can go back there. I've also got a sign-up sheet. If anybody wants to talk to me more, I would love to. If you put your name and your phone number, I will get a hold of you and tell you how I can help you stay in the now and live your purpose. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Paula. That was awesome. All right. Kent Rogers, come on up. Figure out which way to go here. I'm putting their names up so you can remember who they are, because you might be wanting to track them down at some point. Kent, thank you so much.
I want to invite you to find yourself in this story. So 6 months ago, you're just having some aches and pains. And you're not sure what it is, but you blow it off. Your spouse tells you, your children tell you, you ought to go to the doctor, you ought to check it out, you ought to get a physical, and you're like, nah, it's nothing, it'll go away. I tweaked it the other day. I was getting something out of the cupboard, and I'm sure I just twisted something wrong. It was a golf shot, but it persists. On and on. Day after day, you feel it. It's there. Every morning you get up, you feel the pain. You feel the knot. You feel the twinge. And everybody keeps saying to you, because you keep moaning and groaning about it, right? You need to go see the doctor. And so you finally do. You relent. You go to the doctor, and the doctor says, hey, I want to run a series of tests. I want to do a complete physical. I want to do some lab work. We're going to draw some blood. We're going to check this out, and we're going to take some time to look at it and come back in a month. That appointment's this afternoon. So this afternoon at 1 o'clock, every one of you, each of you, has an appointment with your doctor. You're going to go find out the results of the test. And you walk in, and his nurse sets you down. She's solemn today. She's not as happy and cheerful and chirpy as she usually is. It's like the doctor will be in soon. She'll come in and share with you. She's with another patient. She walks in the room, and she just sits beside you. Pulls up the chair, pulls it a little closer than usual, and says, we've read the test. It's not the news we were expecting. And I hate to tell you, but I think you've got about 3 or 6 months to live. Can you see yourself in the story? Can you see yourself in that story? Because immediately you find yourself at a fork in the road. And you've got to choose a path. And one of those paths is you're going to leave that doctor's office. You're going to walk home, and all the way home, you're going to be in tears, and you're going to be shouting out to God and anyone that will hear you when you get home, why? Why didn't I listen to you? Why didn't I go sooner? What if why? Or There's another option. You can walk out of the room and say, what's next? What now? What's next for me? Let me ask you a question. Why is it that a tragedy, why is it that bad news motivates us to do that which we should have been doing long ago? Why does it take bad news? Why does it take bad news? So I want to encourage you today to think with me for a moment, what could you do in that moment that doesn't lead you to why me? And to do what some would do. I'm sure some would just find a corner and they would curl up in a ball and that's where they would stay. But there's others that say, what's next? What now? See, I've thought about it. What if I had only 6 months? What if I only had a year? What if I only have 10 years or 20 years? I just turned 60. What now? Let me ask you this. What gets you out of bed in the morning? Think about that for a moment. What gets you out of bed? What makes you not hit the alarm clock 7 times, but what, when you hear it the first time, you jump up? What's your mantra? What's your mission? What's your purpose? I was a pastor for 37 years, and deep in my heart, I'm probably still that guy. And you know what drives me every day? Every day when I hear the alarm clock go off, I jump up on the first one. I jump up and I'm imagining in my mind, this happens to me every day, I'm imagining that somewhere the devil says, shit, he's awake again. He's awake again. What's yours? What's your purpose? What gets you out of bed? I was reading about Viktor Frankl. He's in a concentration camp. I can't even begin to imagine it. And you know what gets him out of bed every morning? Is imagining what it will feel like to hold his wife again. I know what that feels like, don't you? During COVID, I remember going to my mother's front door, and we stood and looked at each other through a plexiglass. You know what the greatest moment of my life was? When my mother could walk out that door and give me a hug, and I could feel her touch again. Are you with me? What gets you out of bed? What gets you out of bed in the morning? Let me give you a few things. I don't know how long you've got to live. 3 months, 6 months, a year, 10 years. But find something daily you could do. Have a daily mantra. Have a daily mission. Meditate. Do some yoga. Do some exercise. But every day have a daily practice. I stand in front of the mirror every day. Not the full-length one because I don't like that one anymore. But that small one, and I say to myself, what today? Whose life can I impact today? And you know why I do that? Because my dad years ago said to me, Kent, you have to live, you're going to be appointed to a church. When I was a pastor, you're going to be appointed to church, and you're only there for one moment in time. And I said, Dad, what do you mean one moment in time? How do I know that? He said, you treat every moment as the one moment. And so if I'm sitting with you, you're my moment. You're my moment. I'm going to look at you in the eyes. I'm going to listen to you to understand you, not to reply to you, because I want to know you. I want to understand who you are. I want to know if you found yourself, as Paula was talking about. Digging deep, a daily practice. Whose life can I touch today? Whose life? Number 2. I question myself every day. Do you? What is it in life that you do it, and it is so exciting and it is so enjoyable that you'll forget to eat when you're doing it? You have anything like that? That you love it so much, it's so much a part of your life and your purpose that you'll do it and somebody will say, did you forget to eat? Well, yeah, I just wrapped up in it. You're in your sweet spot. You're in your flow, someone might say. It relaxes you more than anything, or it challenges you more than anything. What is that for you? Here's the reality of life. Getting old sucks. Am I wrong? I don't like the way I look in that full-length mirror. I don't like it. Things that used to be up here are down here, right? And I find myself having to walk around like this a lot more often. I take pictures with my family now, and you know what they say? Dad, suck it in. Never said that years ago. Dad, adjust your chin. It's not easy, but if you're living with a purpose, if you're focused on what's next and what could you do today and who could you impact, that leads me to the third thing. Be needed. Be needed. Find a place where you are needed. Find an activity where you are needed in that activity. My daughter's a single mother of 4. And you know who watches her kids every other weekend while she works? Not me. My 78-year-old mother. Because she needs to be needed. And she loves it, seeing a 12-year-old run around, and a 10-year-old tear up her house, and a 6-year-old devastate her couch, and a 3-year-old all over the place. She loves it. Do I love that? No, I'm not that old yet. But my mom needs that. And some of you need to be in a place where you are not being voluntold, but you are volunteering. You're saying, I'll do it. Find some place where you are needed. And jump in, fall in. Number 4, be creative. I guarantee you in this room, this is one of the most creative rooms. Every one of you has something that you could do, something you could share with me. If we had time to sit and talk, I would learn something from you because you are creative. Be creative. You know what I'm going to do when I retire? Not now, because I don't have time to do it. When I retire, I want to learn to cook. I want to learn to cook. I want my wife to come home, and when she walks in the door, she smells the fresh aroma of something beautiful cooking in the kitchen, and she will go, wow, what did you create today? Be creative. Be curious. Be curious. Go out and explore the world. You can do that from home. Google will take you everywhere. It'll take you some places you shouldn't be, right? It'll take you everywhere. But go out and explore. Do you know what there is to see and do in Wichita, Kansas? Be curious. Find somebody who needs to be needed. Find a partner. Find a friend. Find a group. Find a club. You know they are all over town, and there are people looking for that opportunity to go, oh, you're curious too? Let's go do that. You mean you'd like to find out more about that? Let's go do that. I'm in. What are you curious about? Anything? What would you be curious? If you could know something about something in Wichita, Kansas, what would it be? Everything. Maybe got one thing. One thing. What are you curious about? Where are you going to live next? How many of you are curious about where you're going to live next? Anybody? I'm already looking. I'm a hospice coordinator. When I walk into a place, I'm looking, could I live here? Yeah. Can I test out the bed? Could I live here? Can I walk around? Can I stay and have lunch? Am I going to live here? Yeah. Be curious. I bet there's a group of people in this room that are curious about where they're going to be next. And you could go explore, get in a car someday, go explore some places, call up some places and say, hey, can we come out? Can we come out at Asbury and explore? Can we come to Georgetown and explore? Can we come and explore? Be curious. Here's one. Don't forget this one. Gosh, don't forget this one. Be fun. Be fun. You know, probably one of the funniest persons in my entire life was my great-great-grandfather, Grandpa Shepherd. You know, I liked spending time with him because he was fun. You know what he was fun doing? Telling me stories. You know who told me the dirtiest jokes I've ever heard? My great-great-grandfather. Bless his heart. And you know what was great about when he would tell me one of those jokes? Everybody laughed. His grandpa was in his late 90s. He could say whatever he wanted to say, and he did say whatever he wanted to say. Listen to me. Be fun. Have fun. Live with a purpose. Have fun. Enjoy life. It is great. If you've got 3 or 6 or a year or 10 or 20, have fun. Don't go out of this world. Your legacy. If I'm doing your funeral, I've done 900 plus funerals. If I'm doing your funeral, one of the things I want to be able to say in the midst of that to everybody is, I was listening to the great-grandchildren and the grandchildren and their children, and you know what I can tell you about this? This person had fun. And I hope there's not much off the record. I hope I can talk about all the things you did. I bet you've had fun, sir. I want to be able to talk about that. Have fun. And finally, what did you want to do? You came here to learn one thing. Travel. Oh, no, it's travel. You say tough with COVID, but travel locally. Travel within the state of Kansas. Things are opening up. I know friends, I know people your age that already been on cruise ships. They're going, travel. Spend all that money. I had a relative call me the other day and said, Kent, we got a crisis, and you're the only one that can take care of it. And I said, what's the crisis? Your mom is spending too much money. My mom's 78. My mom's 4'9". My mom, I said, and what do you want me to do about this? Well, you need to go talk to your mom. She's buying stuff from Amazon. She's got deliveries all the time. She decided to remodel her bathroom. She's talking about trips she's going to take. She wants to go to Branson. She wants to go here, there. And I said, Lynn, listen to me very carefully. Mom can do anything she wants to do. Because my mom, she likes to be creative. She's going to do it. My mom's curious. She's going to go check out things she's never seen. My mom, 78, is the funnest person I know to be around. She's a hoot. She was a preacher's wife for way too long. And she didn't get to have fun when she was a preacher's wife. And as soon as my dad died, she is having a blast. Purple hair. Bright purple hair. She is having a ball in life. And here's the deal. She said, here's what my cousin said. Kent, here's what you have to remember. Your mom's going to die, and there's not going to be anything left for you and the boys. That's exactly what I said. So what? You know what I want to have is memories of watching that woman live life. You know what your kids are saying? Same thing. My lasting memories is I want to see mom and dad live life. Don't wait till you're at a fork in the road. Don't wait until you hear news you didn't want to hear. The choice is yours. Live life now.
Thank you. I always like to think that as grandparents, we want to be good examples for our children and our grandchildren, because long after we're gone, we hope that they remember that we had fun and we said yes, and leave them a legacy in how to age. Okay. I've known her for a long time, but every time I think of Connie, I have to remind myself that her name is not Joy, because I have attached the word joy to you. How about that? Because you are joy.
It's a dark sky, can you tell? Okay. And I have purpose, I want to tell you. I'm going to start world peace in Wichita, Kansas. Okay. And the very first time that I said that out loud, I was in the lockdown unit of the psych ward. And that's going to buy you a few more days to your stay. But what if it's a dozen years later, and that is still your purpose? You're living on this side, that's still your purpose. And it's what drives you, it's what makes you jump out of bed in the morning. Well, if it's a dozen years later, I started my own company. Now I have to learn how to switch the... Okay. Thank you, she's assisting. Yes, I started my own company, and it's Retreat to Joy. So retreat not in the way of running away from things, not a retreat like going to Thailand or Bali and sitting on a cushion. No, what I teach is the retreat of going inside and finding your own joy. And how I do this, I teach people calm and focus and awareness, using mindfulness skills and techniques. So has everybody heard about mindfulness? Okay, great. That's what I teach, because a lot of times you hear, do this, do that, and you think, how do I do it? How do I go inside? Once you go inside, you realize that you don't need another guru. You don't need a self-help book. All your answers are right there. So what I do is just help people access their own inner knowledge. So it wasn't always an easy road to get there. That's me 20 plus years ago. And I was doing a lot of the same things that you guys did in life, right? Juggling kids and work, aging parents, traveling a lot. I was on that hamster wheel of life, just going as fast as I could, as fast as I could. And on the outside, I looked pretty good. Not yet. If she's going to be my helper, I might have to have Charlie come up here. No, but on the outside, everything looked good. I had the house, I had clothes, I had travel. But on the inside, I was absolutely drowning. I was so overwhelmed. And I looked at my coworkers, and we were all pretty much doing the same thing. Just, we were so busy and we're so stressed. And it was really like the badge of honor to say those things to each other. And I collapsed. I crashed on the side of the road. But my comeback was finding mindfulness meditation. Nothing else in my life has been so transformational. And that's 20 years of struggling with mental illness. So I began studying mindfulness meditation in 2009. And the time that I learned it, it's by 2016, I decided this is too important. And I have to take it out and share it to the world. So I started my own company. So next slide. Mindfulness. Now, some of this may sound familiar because we had 3 other speakers before. Mindfulness, you can't talk about it unless you also talk about awareness. And awareness is knowing that something's going on inside of you or outside of you. There's so much static now. There's so many things that pull you away. So the mindfulness techniques and skills that you learn sharpen your awareness. So you can make sure that you're having the best human experience possible. So joy. Who doesn't want more joy in their life? Right? Nobody said no to that. And joy is just being in that present moment. So the present moment, most of the time, we're on autopilot. We know what our days are about, and we're just kind of drifting along, not really in the present moment. Paula said 95% of the time we're not in the present moment. I've heard different statistics, but really it is, about half of your life goes by on autopilot. So if you're not in the present moment, you're way over in the past. And in the past, that's when you start to worry, you get depressed, and it just keeps going down. So you're down here living your life, and if you're not in the past, where do you think you are? You're in the future, and you're catastrophizing. You're thinking about all the possible things that could go wrong, and so you spiral down to anxiety. You get down here, and all of a sudden, you find there's no joy in your life because you're living it down here. You're at the bottom, and you kind of alternate maybe between worry and anxiety, maybe fear and anger, right? And maybe even worse, the things that don't have a diagnosis, just kind of a pervasive sadness or being numb to any feelings. So what I teach, and it's not very hard. You think present moment, I've got that. It sounds very, very simple. It's not easy. And it's not easy because of all the internal dialogue that we've got going on, that constant mind chatter. Does anybody know about that? It's the things that we tell ourselves, that limit us, that what we can't do. That's going on all the time. So mindfulness techniques and skills find a way for you to increase your awareness, to be more in the present moment. It's not like a mind trap, but it's being aware of your thoughts. I've been on a 10-day silent retreat, okay? And I was talking to somebody recently who was 10 days solitude in prison. And you know what we came across that was the same? After about 3 days of this, you realize, oh my gosh, I'm having the same kind of perpetual thoughts. The same things kind of keep recycling. And it's true because really most of our thoughts, we don't have original thoughts. Okay? It's a function of, how we're brought up, how we're conditioned, and then also what's in our brain now because it's prehistoric. And the good news is we can change all that. And we have that power inside of us. So again, mindfulness just takes you inside and lets you release your own power. Joy, the last part of it. Joy is just that ability to stay in the present moment, not to be dragged down, that ability to be happy no matter what happens in your life. Next slide. Sure, I'll tell them again. So the spiral is it's going inside, and that everything has to start with you. St. Joe didn't know that in the psych ward, starting world peace, I have a plan. And it involves all of you, okay? Because when you go inside and find your purpose, and you're able to be aware of your thoughts, you become more aware of all the surroundings. You develop inner peace. So from that center point of the spiral, that's you. And when you develop inner peace, it just goes out naturally. Your family will notice it, your neighbors, coworkers, people at the grocery store will notice. And you just will radiate joy just by working with you and starting there. Okay, so I've been doing this for 5 years now, and I changed my business cards. okay? The first ones were like really talkative and workshops and doing this. So now the front of my card, I teach joy, I teach peace. Start with the end in mind. So like I said, mindfulness are just the skills and techniques that you learn to achieve that joy and inner peace. So the back of my card, Constance, change agent. Kind of sexy, isn't it? But that is more, it's a reminder for me that one, I'm all in for mindfulness. This is my purpose. This is the reason that I'm here, I have no doubt. Two, I'm in it for mental health. That is so important. And peace is inner peace. So the way people are treated now with mental health, mental illness, it hasn't changed for about 100 years. There are new things coming up, and I'm very excited because mindfulness is something new. And mindfulness is a way for prevention and for maintenance of, mental health, mental well-being. So I'm in it for that. Then number 3, and I said, I already told you, it's you. It's everybody in the room. Once you start to develop your own inner peace and joy, that's just going to spread out naturally. You really don't have to do too much. You might have to, mindfulness meditation, I recommit every day. And what that looks like for me, it's part sitting on a cushion, being quiet, going inside. But it's also how you show up in life. And every single opportunity, every encounter, every walk in the park is a chance for you to be mindful. Okay, next one. So now, if it's okay with you, I'd like to invite you to do a short practice with me. Does that sound good? Okay, you don't have to do anything too special. You don't have to close your eyes. You don't even have to sit cross-legged. Just pretend this is like a normal day, and maybe you've had a big disappointment. You feel overwhelmed. You're feeling a little anxiety. We're just going to breathe together for a little bit. So just maybe sit up a little straighter, and I'm going to talk you through it. So inhaling through the nose deeply. Pause. And exhaling fully. Just getting that first breath out of the way. And now just take a few breaths on your own, just noticing your breath, not doing anything special. Just noticing that gentle in and out. Your breath is there all the time, supporting you. And now we're going to continue. So inhaling deeply, pausing, and now exhaling fully. These are taking breaths with purpose and with intention. So the second one, we're going to inhale very deep, and with your imagination, see if you can feel the breath circulating around your heart, okay? So inhaling, pausing, exhaling fully. And now, do a couple on your own, again, with intention and purpose. Just deep breaths, but pause. So in between the in-breath and the out-breath, so you can really feel that pause. Okay. Everybody's still breathing. Nobody's blue. That's good. And that's it. It's right there. It's that pause where all the power is. You thought it was just taking that breath. No, it's the pause in between breaths. That's where your power is, because mostly when we're on autopilot, if we're not that, we're very reactive. And if we're presented with a stress trigger, something goes wrong, it's almost like a volatile emotional cascade that goes off. And it's not our fault. Again, it's how we're wired. It's how we come into the world. But when you start to practice and practice that pause, it gives you that chance to leave your busy mind and go into your heart. And it's from that heart that we send out more joy, that we operate at a higher frequency of love, of caring, and it goes on. And again, we will radiate that out to everybody. That's what inner peace is all about. Not to have that mind chatter, to be joyful no matter what happens. So dream with me a little bit, if you will. The last slide. World peace in Wichita, Kansas, and you can all play a role just by being yourself and have inner peace and joy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's have all four of you come up and grab a director chair, and let's hear some ahas, some pearls that you picked up today or questions that you have for someone, and I'll run around with the mic. All right. Did anyone, or you could just lean on it or something. Okay. Any ahas, any pearls that you want to share? What did you learn? If you picked up something that you liked, that might help someone else connect. What did you hear today that you wrote down or you want to remember? Anybody? All right. Do you have a question for a panelist? That is one of my very favorite questions. If you can't think what to ask somebody, like let's say you're at the doctor's office, you can ask that question. What questions should I? If I had questions, what questions should they be? All right. If you had a question, what would it be?
I would like to know what would have happened if she'd have picked black card.
Because, see, I wanted her to pick red. And if she'd have said, I want the big cards, I'd have said, that leaves the little cards. If I say 2 or 4 or 6, and she says 2 and 4, I go, great, that's what I wanted her to pick. But if she said 6, I would have said, well, that leaves the 2 and the 4. Because I knew where I was going. I had a goal in mind. She didn't know jack about where she was going. Fair enough? But because I led her there, I got her where I wanted her to go. So,
Would
that's my story. My wife says I can tell however I want to.
that manipulation. Wouldn't that be great? Now that's how you can influence your children, influence your grandchildren. A question for Paula.
I wanted to know the author of Infinite Possibilities.
Mike Dooley, the author of Infinite Possibilities.
He has an email that it sends out every day. It's from Notes from the Universe. And you sign up for it and it says, Catherine, today your day is going to be wonderful. Everyone is so individualized. You wake up and go, oh my gosh, the universe is talking to me. So if you go to tut.com, there's going to be a resource and you can sign up for, it's called Notes from the Universe. And it's by Mike Dooley and it's a great, every day makes you feel happy. But he's got some other books out. I would recommend Infinite Possibilities to start with. It's a great primer on this whole thing. Thank you.
Very good. Jean, did that answer all of your questions? Okay. What else? If you had a question, what would it be? I bet you have one.
No, I really don't have a question.
Well, thank you.
I do live in the moment, and I do live with purpose, and I wake up every day looking forward to the opportunities I'm going to have that day to impact another person's life.
Very good. Thank you. Yes. All right. And that's Queen Connie. So I don't know if you saw we're going to have a Red Hat episode on PBS coming up. George?
You went 10 days without talking. My wife would like me to go 10 minutes.
How do we sign George up? You can meet her after. All right. Anyone else have a question or comment? What was the best thing you heard today? Okay, I'll head over there. What'd you say?
What makes you happy? I'm going to start asking people what makes them happy.
Oh. She said, I'm going to start asking people what makes you happy. And she said, I want to know. That's great. There you go. That's where it starts, asking yourself what makes you happy. And there was a comment over here. All right, so you talked about having fun. So what do the panelists do to have fun? So we'll just have you hand it down.
I love to be with my grandkids, right? I love nature, and I don't know if it's fun, but those are the things that bring me joy, right? Which is Constance, and just literally, I realize it's a broken record, staying in the present moment, because new opportunities show up, you take advantage of them, and they're the most fun, rewarding things that you ever can do. So kind of keep an open mind on it, my grandkids.
Well, things I do, they're G-rated, things that are PG-rated, things that are R-rated. No. What I do for fun? The number one thing that I like to do more than anything in the world, and so this becomes a really tough time of year for me, I love to mow the lawn. I love to mow the lawn. How many of you would like me to come mow your lawn this summer? I would love to do that. Just sign up at the deal. When I retire, actually, I had a break from work for a period of time, and all I did was mow lawns. And I would meet people who would be out socially, and they're like, you mow lawns? And I'm like, yeah. But I only use a push mower. I love to mow lawns because I see what I accomplished, and I like straight lines. So mowing lawns, I love that. I love sports of any kind. I'm a sports spectator. I like new experiences. So this last weekend, Friday night, my 33-year-old son says, Dad, we're going to do something I know you wouldn't do on your own. We're going to see Joe Rogan. Anybody ever seen Joe Rogan? Joe Rogan made me uncomfortable a few times. My son told me that. You're done. We went to a concert once, and on Sunday night, I'm with my stepson watching Wichita State K-State. I like to have fun. I like to go out and do things. I like to do things that help me to stay young. So mow lawns, sporting events, and I like a really good beer. So those are things I do.
So he mentioned Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan was in town. Our kids introduced us to Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan can make you feel uncomfortable sometimes.
Yes.
But I'll tell you what, he has an amazing podcast and interviews some of the most interesting people, and so I recommend to check into it. And if you can tell your kids and grandkids that you've been listening to Joe Rogan's podcast, that might be a good conversation.
It is.
Charlie, what do you do for fun?
So the work I do is with nonprofits to help them understand how to make money off of their events. That's what it amounts to. Because most nonprofits have great passion for the mission, but they don't have a great plan on how to make money. And so I do that, and I also work with professional services organizations, so accountants, attorneys, architects, and bankers, to help them understand how to go create visibility for their organization so they can grow their book of business. So to sum up what I do for fun is I show people how to do stuff that they don't think they can do. And if you have the right people, the right plan, and the right process, you can make all that happen. For fun, I raised $550,000 the other night for Envision. It took me about 15 minutes, but I had the right plan and process in place to make that happen. So that's fun. And then I go tell people, and they're like, you what? And then I sold that dollar bill for $3,000 the other night. That was fun for me. But again, I had the right people, plan, and process to make that happen. When I sold that used dessert for $700 the other day, same deal. So showing people how to do what they don't think they can do is just fun for me.
Manipulation.
You know, I have a brother that's a therapist. And he said manipulation is a great quality. And the reason it is because manipulation has been given a bad rap for a long time. So,
Depends on how you use it.
That's
Exactly. And I do it for good. I raise money for those less fortunate. Tell me I'm a bad guy.
Hey, Connie, what do you do for fun?
Okay, so I have a lot of fun. I have to do the business part. I have a lot of fun teaching mindfulness, but my main fun comes in the mornings. I cannot wait to get out of bed in the morning. I'm really a morning person, and so my routine is fun. I meditate, then I have movement. So I go outside, I prancercise. I'm not, I got a dress on, I can't show you. But I have a parking lot behind my building where I live, and there's a church in between, and there's a parking lot. And so I do these exercises, movement with music, and it's like, it really gets your blood pumping and sets the mood for the day. And then I walk around Riverside, and I take a different path every day, and it's fun to me to notice things. And when you're very mindful and you're in the present moment, you're not walking and doing your to-do list for the day and all this. You're there, and you're noticing a cute thing on somebody's porch. You're noticing the leaves are turning. So I think mornings are my fun highlights. And if any ladies want to know about prancercise, I'm not telling him, but we can get together and prancercise later. Just at the very end, I have the microphone.
And you know what? And I was going to say, and that sounds fun, prancercise. So you could maybe follow her on Facebook, and you'll see that she posts about her walks, and she has the most interesting experiences on these walks. Absolutely.
Okay. Over on the side there, too, I left a reminder card because, again, mindfulness isn't just meditating. It's how you show up, right? So I have little reminders of things in your day, that you can be mindful, just more connected, more aware, more turned on. Prancercise.
All right, let's hand the mic back, and let's give one last word, and then we'll close. Does anyone have a burning question that they want to ask? All right, so we're just going to do one more. Start with you. That's true. You've been last every time.
One word is joy.
So what are we doing?
Give one word. We have to do more.
We could do that. What I really meant was give one last tip.
Okay.
You can use more than one word.
Okay. Joy. It's being in the present moment. And again, it's that ability to be happy no matter what happens. And you've got all the answers already right here. Do you like that?
So say hello to more people, because it's like Christmas. You never know what you're going to get when you say hello to somebody, and you'll learn something, and you'll find some people that you like.
Decide your legacy. So when I talk to doctors and ask them, what's the difference between the patient when you give them that news? Because that's a real story. And it happens every day, multiple times a day. Every doctor will tell me, Kent, it's what the person decides when they walk out the door. And I don't know about you. I want to decide how I live my life. I want to decide where I live. And so start making those decisions about your present and your future right now. Be the one who gets to decide. And if you are curious like me, and if you want to have fun, I'm going to find out Constance's address, and we're going to go over and just check out this prancercise.
I would remind you to remember who you truly are. You're not your name, you're not your body, you're not your age. You're a spiritual being having this amazing experience, and appreciate every single moment. And the way you access that is to stay in the now. And remember who you truly are. You're powerful, you're precious, you're here right now, and you can do anything you want to. So thank you.
I'm grateful for my friends, and now they're your friends too. So we thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for being here today. I was introduced to Charlie by Mindy East, who's over there. She is going to be the host of our second show, which is Ageless Enthusiasm, and we filmed the pilot, and it'll be a monthly show starting next year. Thank you for the introduction, because I know nothing about being a nonprofit, and so I plan to start learning. I'm going to be intentional about that, because we have a lot of ideas on how we want to continue to educate, equip, and empower seniors. Thank you for being part of our journey. And don't leave yet, because Delno, I'd like to is Delno still here? Great. Delno, who's a famous Wichita actor, he's here every month. It's true. He's here every month taking the photos. Delno, thank you for doing that. I want to get a picture of the panel before we break.
Let's all clap for Catherine, who puts this on tirelessly and great topics and getting us all together. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you. And I want to thank our sponsors. And in the back of the room, Shanna, could you please stand up? The very next Empowering Seniors show is going to feature her mission, which is Club Parkinson's and pole walking. Come on up. Okay. So December 17th, that'll be the last show of the year, so be sure to tune in. It's Friday night at 8:30, rerun Saturday afternoon, replay Sunday evening, and then we have more new shows coming out after the beginning of the year. So I think this is one of our best shows coming up. I think it's going to be really great, so be sure to watch. I think these urban polls are awesome, so we hope you turn in. All right, we will be around to answer questions and to visit. Please enjoy the gardens. We have beautiful weather today, and part of the reason we do Botanica is because we want to invite you to enjoy the seasons with us. So we hope you take a moment to use your free ticket to go out and walk. Share the news about empowering seniors, and we'll see you back in February. Merry Christmas!